This presentation will outline the details of the case Bosnia and Herzegovina versus Serbia and Montenegro. The following case was brought before the ICJ and focused centrally upon the application of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. The issue at hand was in debating whether a state, in this case Serbia, committed a criminal violation of international law. The central question was, is the conduct of any state organ to be considered an act of the state under international law? Further, would this give rise to the responsibility of the state if the conduct constitutes a breach of international obligation? In order to understand the details of this case and the outcome of the ICJ's decision, a brief understanding of the relevant context must be assessed. In the early 1990s, the republics of Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Macedonia, and Slovenia declared independence. This split led to the declaration of Serbia and Montenegro forming a new union, declaring themselves as the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. Throughout the rest of this presentation, this will be referred to as simply the FRY. Additionally, it must be noted that the case brought before the ICJ, the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, were the defendants. The historical roots that were formed as a result of the Second World War, in which the Balkan states became a part of the Federal People's Republic of Yugoslavia. After the death of their longtime leader, Joseph Tito, in 1980, the rapidly growing nationalism among the different Yugoslavian republics was threatened to split their union apart. Throughout the war that took place in Croatia following this separation, the Serb-dominated Yugoslav army supported the Serbian separatists in their brutal clashes with Croatian forces. In early May of 1992, 2 days after the U.S. and the EU recognized Bosnia's independence, Bosnian Serb forces and the Serb-dominated Yugoslav army launched their offensive with the bombardment of Bosnia's capital, Sarajevo. The pivotal moment of the conflict took place in July of 1995 when the Bosnian Serbs advanced on the village of Srebrenica. Many of the women were put on buses, sending them to Bosnian-held territory, leaving the men behind. The men were left behind were being mostly killed immediately, and some being bused to mass killing sites. Overall, the estimates of Bosnians killed by Serb forces at the Srebrenica range from around 7,000 to 8,000. Next, we're going to go over the arguments put forward by both sides. The Bosnian argument. As Bosnia and Herzegovina were plaintiffs of the case, they brought suit against the FRY and the International Court of Justice, claiming that the FRY had violated the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. Countries participating in the convention are required to prevent and punish actions of genocide, whether carried out by a technical state of war or peacetime. Bosnia and Herzegovina claimed that the FRY, a party that had ratified the Genocide Convention, had supported Serbian militia forces in the mass killings, rape, torture, and other harmful acts that were prohibited by the Genocide Convention. The main point of the Bosnian argument was that FRY was primarily responsible for the actions of Serbian forces and therefore should be held to accountability under the international law, the ICJ. The FRY government and later the Independent Republic of Serbia denied these accusations. The goal of the plaintiff's side and the prosecutors for the ICJ was to prove that Serbian forces carrying out attacks were an organ or de facto organs of the FRY government. They attempted to prove this in several ways, and they looked towards the Nicaragua versus the United States of America case, which was very similar for methods to do so. First, although there was irrefutable evidence the FRY government provided financial and other resource support to Serbian forces, just like the U.S. and extensions of it like the CIA did for the rebel Contra groups, and the government and Serb forces shared a common goal. There is not evidence of the FRY army taking part in massacres or that political leaders had a complete hand in organizing them directly. This relates to the theory of complete dependence used in the Nicaragua versus U.S. case, where legal or de facto groups and their actions cannot be attributed to the state because they are not under strict control of the state and have some independence and real autonomy from the state. Therefore, according to the complete dominance theory of the acts of genocide at Srebrenica could not be attributed to the FRY. Two more theories were used from the Nicaragua versus U.S. case, which were the concepts of effective control and overall control. For the effective control test, it must be proven that the accused state took part in all aspects of the operation in question, such as Srebrenica. The overall control concept is more broad, but where it is not required to prove every operation was under control of the state, but the state held general control of the crime-committing group. Overall, the primary relation of these two cases is that the court referred to the standards set by Nicaragua versus United States, in which the U.S. was found not to be legally responsible for the actions of the Contra guerrillas despite their common goal and widely publicized and irrefutable support. The judgment of this case multifaceted for a number of reasons. First, the ICJ held that within Article 2 of the Genocide Convention, the massacres at Srebrenica in 1995 did qualify as genocide, and they were committed with the intent to destroy the group of Muslims of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Second, as stated, the court did not rule in favor of Bosnia in this case in terms of ruling that Serbia was directly responsible for the genocide or that it was complicit in it. But there are major implications against Serbia, and they were attached to the genocide due to breaches of the Genocide Convention. Foremost, they are proven to have failed to prevent genocide, thus holding grew from a pivotal order from the court in 1993 before the Srebrenican massacres occurred that called for the FRI to take all measures within its power to prevent genocide during the conflict. This was the momental part of the case, and although referring to the Nicaragua case, the concepts of complete dominance, effective control, and overall control, the ICJ still managed to achieve justice through a method that had disallowed the state to claim innocence from genocide from a bystander perspective. The conclusion of the judgment was that Serbia was to ensure full compliance under its obligation to the Genocide Convention with the primary objective of transferring individuals that took part in the genocide to trial at the ICTY. There's a success story at the end of this case where, although there was not reparation to victims' families ordered against the Serbians, the ICTY tribunal succeeded in capturing all and indicating a large majority of those accused of war crimes in Bosnia by 2011.